And Marco, thanks again, man. This is a privilege and honor having you here. Hall of Fame producer, heck of a builder, and grown the agency now, and first full year issued over 400,000, and that's the company grew so much that we able to exclusively interview only Hall of Fame producer on our calls because there's so many. But Marco, Gabe, it's all yours, guys, and thanks so much for being here.
Thanks, Ivan. Appreciate it, man. Excited to be here.
Hey, Marco, thanks so much for being on, man. I've been watching you for a while. I got to meet you just briefly. You probably don't even remember. I was down in the Boca office and I started following you on Facebook, and I saw your numbers and I'm like, man, how is this guy doing it? Just every talk about Weekend Warrior, just crushing it week after week. And obviously I've watched you open up the office. And so just really kind of admired what you're doing from afar. So thank you so much. Honored to be speaking with you. I guess I'd love to start out, and for people who don't know or maybe aren't as familiar with you, how'd you get into this industry? What did your start look like?
Yeah, I appreciate that, and thanks again for having me on, guys. Very, very excited to speak with all of you today. So yeah, my background, it comes from corporate America. 22 years of corporate America, climbing up the corporate America, ladder, chain, whatever you want to call it. From there, it was October 2019. I was supposed to be interviewing for a promotion, a vice president role. Coming into that November, December timeframe, had a new chief revenue officer start in my company per se, and ultimately he just wanted to bring in his own people. Didn't really matter how long I was there, how I was producing, and so I got a pink slip. Was flying back from the Carolinas, and it's pretty interesting the way it works, but it was more God's plan than mine, because I had never in a million years would I have ever thought I would be in the insurance industry, like just never. So flying back from the Carolinas, and I had a buddy of mine who 2 weeks prior to me being let go, told me about this dietitian who's doing something part-time within the insurance industry, and if I would be intrigued to hear about it. And with that being said, at that point, I was like, listen, I would love to, but I can't. I'm too busy. I'm on a plane every week. I have 1,000 employees in different regions, different states that I'm managing. And sure enough, I was flying back, and when I landed, he sent me a text saying, hey, that little business introduction meeting I told you about is actually happening this Thursday, which was 2 days away from me flying in. And sure enough, I was like, you know what, at this point, why not? Now, I went into that BDM with literally all the worst expectations. I was going in there, I was thinking cold calling, low compensation, harassing friends and family, being that guy at the barbecue. I was thinking really just the worst, right? Working under somebody for like 10 years, not getting your renewals. But when I got there and I got to meet Allison DePasqua, Frank DeSena, two high integrity, God-fearing individuals. And I was in Allison's living room with her newborn, with about 6 or 7 other people there. And I just heard a BDM that Frank did, and I took my wife with me. We left, man, and we were blown away with the opportunity. But I still wanted to do my due diligence. I went home, shopped around, spoke to about 7 or 8 other IMOs to see if really FFL was providing pretty much the best value and support proposition for any new broker or agent out there in the industry. And I was blown away by what I found. From our comp levels to the training, to the no fees, to obviously vested day one, I can go on and on. But that's what blew me away. So my wife and I prayed about it. We decided to get licensed, and we did. And sure enough, at that time, I was still looking for a real job. I was thinking this is going to be a part-time gig that I do on the side. Got a couple different offers around the country. We didn't want to move. So we just decided to hit it hard and start in January 2020, just about 13 months ago. It's just been an amazing, life-changing experience, and I'm super blessed to be a part of the team.
Wow, that's phenomenal. So you came from a very different background than most in this industry for sure. And so what is that? So obviously a lot came into your decision to coming over here, and you came into it with an incredible high intention, sounds like, of building a business and everything right away. What has your, obviously, to invest in the business, you have to be producing at a high level to be writing. What did your personal growth look like at the beginning? When did you start deciding to be actively building a business? And how did that look? Did you do a lot of cold market, warm market? I know kind of just hit you with a lot there, but
No, all good, brother, and all great questions. So if you go back to January 2020, 13 months ago, my bank account was pretty much about to be depleted. My severance was running out. My savings was running out. I got 3 kids and a wife that was depending on my income. And so I had a call with Frank DeSena, and I said, Frank, hey, man, like, we got to figure this out. Like, I either got to use my mortgage payment money to buy leads and or to pay the mortgage. And we went to work. I went all in, got extremely uncomfortable. And then from there, it just started clicking. My first few weeks, I didn't do great, but I had my real breakthrough about 3 to 4 weeks in. I had a $10,000 AP day. And when I got, about $7,000 or $8,000 deposited in my bank 48 hours later, my next call was to Frank DeSena to ask me, is this legal? Because I didn't want the IRS or the FBI knocking on my door, and just scaring my family. So at that point, for me, I thought, man, I can do this. And that's what I teach all new agents and brokers. We all will have our breakthrough. It just depends. And all that matters is, can you hold on long enough to get to your breakthrough point? Some experience it their first week, second week, third month, fourth month. It don't matter, but we will all have that breakthrough. And it happens with every new broker and every new agent that I that's in my business and I speak with. So for me, what's funny was I was managing people for so long, Gabe, that I was like, all right, I'm just going to come in and be a really good independent insurance broker. I'm not going to build. I'm just going to focus on just managing me. I didn't want to have to manage people. And then sure enough, God had a different plan again. All of a sudden, God starts putting it on me to build, and I start sharing the opportunity with people, and it just kind of catapulted. And, we started really sharing the opportunity about two to 3 months into me running and starting to produce at a higher level. I wish I would have started sharing the opportunity earlier, because I would have changed a lot more lives. And then in spite of, when COVID hit last year, it shut down all the testing centers in Florida. So I had 40, 50 people scheduled for the exam, ready to go, full momentum. And then all of a sudden, everything just stopped for 6 months. And so that was very difficult because a lot of momentum was lost. But I had to, while that was still happening, we still recruited, still did BDMs, we adjusted, pivoted. Sean Mike is a great example of that. We don't stop going and seeing clients. We bring chairs, masks. We just didn't stop. So that the minute the testing centers reopened and they figured out how to do these tests online and the state exams online, we were able to pick up and obviously going from there. So if you would have told me 13 months ago that I was rookie of the year for FFL, that I would almost pay $600,000 on my own pen, and I'd have an agency that's about to do $300,000 this month and we'll do $1 million in about 6 months from now, I would tell you, you need to go get drug tested, because it wouldn't make sense.
Wow. That's awesome, man. That's awesome. So what, and I hope I'm not asking you to repeat yourself here. Maybe I missed it. You might've said it. What was that moment for you, that click where you went? Because obviously you came in very strong. Like, I don't want to have to deal with anybody else. I want to worry about me, make my money. What was that click moment for you that made you decide, I want to build a business?
It's a great question. My best friend got laid off. And at that point, I said, hey, let me come, let me show you what I do. And all you gotta do is duplicate it and you can do really well. At that point, when he got laid off, and it was the beginning part of last year, I said, well, hey, this is pretty simple. I just shared the opportunity and changed his life. And then in the back of my mind, I always thought about, if Josh Gutierrez, the individual who referred me to go to the BDM and Alice in the Pasquale's living room, never mentioned that to me and never thought of me to share the opportunity, where would I be? I don't know. So to me, that it hit right when my best friend got laid off. And I said, dude, come work with me. Let's get after it. I'll show you exactly what I do. He had success right away, starting, writing about 20 grand a month, 25, and growing from there. And then thinking about how appreciative and grateful I was that Josh actually thought of me and invited me to the BDM, despite having a good job and all that stuff. It put things in perspective. And at that point, I just said, let's share the opportunity with the world.
Yeah. And that's beautiful, man, because I mean, it shows what a healthy culture this is, to where you don't have to be so thinking about your own, prosperity and, your own income to make that jump into a business. You did it just super organically with your best friend, thinking, hey, like, this has been great for me. It could be great for my friend. What could this do for other people? That's awesome, man. That's awesome. And so So obviously you have some warm market, you know, that you probably started with friends, people you started with. Can you explain to us how that growth, how that's looked over the last 12, 13 months? And if you're dipping into the cold market now, how you're doing that, and what those on the business side, what that growth has looked like for you?
Yeah, for sure. Great question. So for me, warm market was the lowest hanging fruit. Because I had a, my brand, my reputation, people knew of me, and they were able to give me a few minutes of their time to be able to share an opportunity that I felt was life changing, possibly for them, because it was life changing for me. And it was easy to share my story because I just shared my testimony, and not only mine, I shared everyone else's. I think a big mistake we make when we start building is everyone starts waiting for their personal success. Like, oh, I got to write 30 grand and then I'll share the opportunity. No, I kept sending them Steve Giordano's post and all these other guys, what they were doing, and the leaderboard. And people would finally start getting back to me saying, hey, is that what people made in a week? And I'm like, yeah, they made that in a week. Isn't that pretty crazy? And all they had to do was go out there and help people who asked for their help. Pretty cool. And then from there, it just the warm market started clicking. I was doing BDMs in my living room nonstop. We pivoted to doing BDMs over Zoom nonstop, sharing it with our warm market. And then when I was sharing with my warm market, I didn't just bring people on to become an insurance broker. I did that, but when I explained to them, I really took time to dive into what this can do for them long term and how it can change their life. And what I really attacked was corporate America, because corporate America went through a significant downfall when COVID hit last year. And my mission for me was, when I got laid off in October 2019, was to never, ever let any individual or an organization ever again control my family's financial security. So for me, that was my mission: just save people from corporate America, break those chains, have them come here, have them be able to replace their salary part-time, transition to full-time, and then I let them know what the big picture was and what this can do for them, and then they can emulate exactly what I'm doing. So I really put in front of them that you can build and you can share the opportunity. That way, when people were starting to come on board, they were bringing immediately their warm market with them, and they were eager to share the opportunity. So I didn't focus so much on them being an insurance broker. I focused on the big picture of, hey, how do we get you to a vice president? This is what it looks like, right? How do we get you to, to have, 10 people underneath you, to work alongside you and be able to show them and mentor them and coach them, and then kind of go from there and build. And so for me, that was the cool part, man. It was just showing that and teaching people. And as I was learning, I was teaching. I still don't know everything. I've only been in this industry for 13 months. Probably a lot of these people have forgotten more than I know. But ultimately, what I am good at is sharing the opportunity, explaining how it's changed my life, my testimony, showing what other people are doing. And that's how I attack my warm market. For cold market, as much as we've grown, we could have done a lot better job cold market. We're just now really going all in. We've had a recruiter here and there. So in my office in Doral, what we're doing is we dedicated an entire good portion of the office now for the recruiting team. Furniture, whole 9 yards, TV, refrigerator, and we got 3 or 4 recruiters full-time starting March 1st. And we're attacking all different campaigns from Career Builder, Indeed, ZipRecruiter. We have a kind of a lead recruiter that's going to come in that has already been kind of emulating what Nick Ayala's done in Priority Life, and how he's gone up to a $4 million issue paid business in a couple of years. We're going to emulate that, but also add our spice to it. And then from there, we're going to just pretty much duplicate it and just grow as fast as we can, and just save all these agents and brokers out there that are working for such lower comps, and then introduce the opportunity to all these people out there that, they can come over and make a better life for them.
Yeah, man, sounds like you're on a mission, man. You're on a mission to change people's lives.
Yeah, man. Listen, the integrity deal and everything that Sean has built for us, the platform, where I'm very grateful, and anybody can do it. And what I was telling my team was, people are like, oh, how do I get to $1 million issue pay? And I said, listen, if you get 8 or 9 writers a month for an entire year, and they do the average 12,000 issue pay, on average 12,000 issue pay per month, your volume will get to that 1.1, 1.2. So I really try to make things very simple for people and break it into kind of like bite sizes, because when people hear, oh, $1 million per month, it's not that hard. If you can get 8 to 9 writers a month That's about 2 a week, just 2 a week. And they just do the average of what we do here in FFL. You can get to $1 million in 12 months. And that's the mentality I continue to preach and kind of breed. So.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. That's all, it's funny for people of faith and that have these really faith-based principles in their life. Just a quick comment, that you would get a deal with integrity with a company called Integrity.
Yeah. Right.
And that it would, that how the path leads there. Well, that's great, man. That's great. So going back just a little bit. So obviously very much, was focused on warm market, and you explained how you're doing that. Now dipping more into the cold market, talking about the formula that you're emulating from others who've reached that. Obviously, you have to have a good chunk of money to invest in leads, and you are writing quite a bit. Last year, 600,000, Hall of Fame, your first year, phenomenal. Obviously, you were all in right away because you had to be. Talk to us about your personal production, hurdles you went through. Did you hit the ground running? What was that evolution like for you? What does your leads look like now? Talk to us about that.
Yeah. So I did not hit the ground running. My first few weeks were a struggle. In fact, I have a text message saved that I sent Steve Giordano, just saying, hey, you don't know me, reaching out for help. Thought I would get off to a much faster start. I was very confident starting off. I consider myself to be humble, but I needed to eat a bigger slice of humble pie when I started. So I came from an industry where I was known as the expert. People came to me for answers, and then I started in this new industry. And I really did, looking back, man, I did everything you shouldn't do. And I try to share this with everybody. I dialed from the house, didn't get plugged into the office. I never called from in-home. I started off working leads in little bite chunks, and then trying to measure success in little, one lead order at a time, which never works in this industry. And so when that started turning for me was when I said, okay, well, what I'm doing isn't working. So I came in and tried to, I don't want to say reinvent the wheel, but I came in and tried to do it my way, and I failed. And from there, I started pivoting and calling from in the home, obviously purchasing more leads, getting uncomfortable with my lead spend to get comfortable with my bank account. So I always tell people as well, you got to get uncomfortable with your lead spend to get comfortable with your bank account. And then from there, getting plugged into the office, listening to live dials more frequently, reaching out to top producers. When that happened, I started seeing more success, and then I had my breakthrough. Then from there, it was off and running. So my initial lead cost was, I was spending $400 or $500 a week, trying to really see if I can, resolve every lead and really get the same kind of income per month that I was replacing. And that didn't work out very well. The minute I figured out that you can mitigate risk in this business by purchasing more leads, that was the light bulb moment. Because I'm telling you, it's so true, because when people try to not spend a lot of money on leads to try to mitigate risk, but what they're doing is honestly, they're getting less at bats. And with less at bats, your risk is going through the roof to not be able to get your return on investment and profit off it. So the best way to mitigate risk, once I found that out, was to just buy more leads. And from there, it just took off. I was spending about $2,000 a week on leads, but I was writing 50, 60, 70, 80 grand a month. So for me, it was kind of a no-brainer.
Right.
So that's kind of my transition on how I went. And I tried all different lead vendors. I didn't really care what people told me. I just want to try everybody, because I knew that, I'd find my niche, and then slowly but surely you find a couple lead vendors that you feel comfortable with, and then you just go after it.
And now I remember reaching out to Chris. I feel like I always say his name wrong. Fateau.
Yeah, Fateau.
And reaching out to him early on, and just kind of him and many other people about lead vendors and stuff. And he told me something interesting about you, and I think it was about you, and it was that you at the time were buying a crazy amount of Facebook leads and really just kind of looking for the low-hanging fruit. Is that something you talk to us about? That is that something you're still doing? Are you doing that with internet leads now? What does your flow look like?
Yeah. So what's funny is the first 6 months really of last year, I was producing at a high level, and people always assumed I was doing mortgage. And to be quite honest, I wasn't. I didn't start mortgage till probably July of last year. So I
Wow.
was just attacking final expense, and I got really good at it. And then I had to pivot to mortgage because it was time for me it took me too long to get there. But when I pivoted to mortgage, in my mind, I had to go through my next 100 sit downs because I think every product is different in a certain way. So I had to get my 100 sit downs through my FEX, 100 sit downs through my mortgage until I really I felt like an expert at it and comfortable.
Sure.
But yeah, I was attacking Facebook final expense, and now, really, I do mortgage protection mailers. I do mortgage protection final expense. I do a lot of CRM, the instant internet life leads. Like how can you lose? If you buy 100 of those a week and spend around $1,000, you can write one policy and get your investment back, and you have 99 other chances to make a profit. Like you can't lose if you
Right.
work and resolve them. So for me, so heavy CRM right now, different mailer campaigns. I still go back and do some Facebook final expense internet, depending on lead flow and how that lead flow looks for the week. But yeah, dude, just a little bit of everything nowadays.
Nice. And then that's awesome to see. So where do you, obviously you said you didn't hit the ground running. What do you feel like were the keys? And obviously you reached out to top producers. And you upped your lead flow. So those are two key things right there. I think everyone here can hear and do, because that's definitely, and something, and just to reiterate it here, and I've heard you say it several times, but it seems like where you really found your success a lot of times where you were just like, I'm just gonna start following the formula here that was already kind of laid out, and that has really kind of been a big key to success for you. But what would you say that maybe wasn't listed there, if there is anything? And if there's not, I don't feel like you have to, if you've already answered it, but that was a big change up for you that helped you write at a higher level more consistently. Was it a change in mindset? Was it as simple as just getting more leads? What was that for you?
Yeah, it was, if I can just kind of give you a quick synopsis for that, it was calling and reaching out when in the home. I wasn't doing that. I thought I watched enough training. I watched every FFL training video. So I thought I was prepared for anything. And ultimately I wasn't. The first few weeks I struggled. So calling your upline from in the home, using the agent hotline, getting a hold of somebody there. That when you speak, in fact, Frank DeSantis sold my first HMS Plus. The guy I was there for final expense. He ended up wanting mortgage protection. I called Frank. I put him on speaker. I put the phone down. Frank sold it. I wasn't really sure what the product was, but that just goes to show you the kind of support you get. And just by getting into Frank and Allison and Nick's brain when I called them, and they would tell me what to say and what the next steps were, for me, that was the best training, because I was literally in their mind. They were like sitting next to me. So calling from the home is huge. Getting plugged into a local office, dialing from at home did not work for me. Why? There's nobody there doing the same thing you are. You go through a bad stretch of a couple hours. All of a sudden, the Amazon guy comes, the dogs start barking. Just too many distractions. So getting plugged into an office with like-minded individuals is huge when it comes to dialing, listening to live dials, being a part of the Mondays and Thursday trainings, and things of that nature. Those two were really the big ones for me. Once those two changed, and then I continued to tweak my script and continue to tweak my in-home, and I wasn't really, afraid to reach out to top producers and really just gain their knowledge. And even if it was just a little piece, it was just something they told me, their posture, their best practice, their schedule. To me, that was my major breakthrough. And then talking about schedule, I learned to dial every day. One of the biggest mistakes I made was, I can, only dial Mondays and Thursdays. Those are the days to dial. Every other day you got to, I don't do that. I dial every morning from about 7:30 to 9, 7:30 to 8, 9:30. My first appointment's around 10:30. So just by dialing for that hour and a half to 2 hours in the morning, which is money time on the phone, and I do that Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday on my run days. Right there, I'm gonna get an extra 10 appointments a week. That's a given. So for me, I dial every day. I schedule my first appointment around 10. And then from there on Mondays and Thursdays, it also takes the pressure off those days, because I never wanted to go into that day trying to get all my 15 in that one particular time span. And dialing Sundays too, man. Dialing Sundays for a couple hours is amazing. As Ivan was talking about, the weekend is the best time to run and dial. There's no doubt about it. Hall of Famers are made on the weekends. So when I figured that out, and if I could just dial for a couple hours after church on Sunday and book 4, 5, 6, it'd take the pressure off of Monday, which was for me a big deal.
Yeah. It's so fun. I have a new agent here as a friend. We're believers. We're just a quick comment. It's funny how strong the Christian principles are in the company for sure. But well, that's really interesting. Let me go back into that. So you dial every day. So your run days are Tuesday through Saturday.
Yeah, my run days are Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday are my run days. On those days, I will dial for about 2 hours in the morning.
Okay.
So, and I'll schedule my first appointment around 10:30.
Okay. Gotcha. And then Monday and Thursday are still full dial days for you?
Yeah, but I'm at the office, so I'll dial for an hour, 2 hours in the morning. I get slammed the rest of the day. And then when everybody leaves, I'll dial from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. at the office and book up a good amount as well.
Okay. And that's 7:30 to 9 is you
For
said
me, in the morning time, I'd say I start 7:30 to 8 o'clock and I'll end around 9:30 to 10.
Okay.
And then I do a lot of dialing in the evenings. So if I'm at the office, I'm doing the trainings and there's having a lot of appointments and there's a lot going on. So I don't have a lot of time during the afternoon to dial. So then when everybody leaves or everything quiets down around 6:37, I'll hit the phones there for the 2 hours and book a bunch of appointments as well.
Yeah. And that's and someone put it in the comments there. What you really said is really powerful about Hall of Fame is made on the weekends. And that's I just had my biggest day this last week on a weekend. And you're right. It's a great time to reach people. It's, if you don't have a strong reason not to do it, there's really no reason not to be not working on that day. And same too on dialing Sunday afternoon, same thing after church. That's a great time to reach people, book up for Tuesday, Wednesday, maybe a little bit after dial day on Monday. If people are doing that, that's a big deal. All right. Well, and then I want to hit you with a general question. I'm getting into that place where I'm starting to build a lot. And obviously I love what you said there. And obviously Ivan's, looks like Ivan's on a call, but I was probably calling Ivan every appointment I was in for the first month and a half. No exaggeration. Like just about every appointment I was in till I know he was getting tired of it. But I felt like I needed his help. And even after that, I still called him a lot. I think I called Ivan until the point that I already knew what he was going to say. And that's when I stopped calling him. I called him so much.
Yeah, it accelerates your learning curve. So, I mean, substantially, man, because it once again, it places that individual right there next to you in the home. And you get to know what they're thinking, what you should say, what product you got to pivot to, how you need to pivot. So dialing from in the home, I wish more of our new agents and brokers would do it. We talk about it. Some do it really well, some don't, but ultimately it was a big game changer for me, no doubt about it.
Yeah. You know what? And the funny thing is, and last thing I'll say about that is the company I came from, because I came from another insurance company, and my friend, we both came together, was a much higher writer than me at that other company. And I noticed that's what he was doing. He was always talking to our manager, always calling him. And I just didn't do that. And we came over here. I was like, you know what? Caleb beat me at that last company. I'm going to beat him this time. But I'm going to take a page from his playbook. And I'm gonna call Ivan. And sure enough, I beat him out this year. And I attribute to that. It's just really taking advantage of Ivan and his knowledge. So very good. And my next question is kind of leads into that as we're wrapping up here. Obviously, I have a really good sized team. Now you said doing the 300,000 last month.
No, we should be on pace to do 300 this month. We did around
300 this month. That's awesome. That's awesome. So now writing a ton, obviously in that group, you have everyone from people maybe doing just a few grand, a month, to people I'm sure writing 20, 30, 40, in that month. And now you're getting those calls. You're helping those people. You're helping people with their attitude, with their spirit, overcome hurdles. And it's kind of a general question, but what has really helped you, or you feel like the growth that you've had to be able to help those people? What agents are most typically struggling with. They're reaching out. I think I've heard some people say they felt like they were too nice because they were considering people's true feelings too much, and then switched because they were more concerned about their results. I've heard a lot of different things. What does that look like for you, that growth, and what are you doing now?
Yeah, it's a great question, man. And so for me, I whenever a new broker starts out in my organization, we always want to be very authentic with them and very
Sure.
transparent in regards to what the expectations are going to be as you start. Because you're going to have a lot of highs and a lot of lows. And if you're not plugged into the office, if you're not reaching out to your upline, I said this at convention, but the first thing I always try to get them to understand is, when you have that negative moment, that moment of doubt, and that bad day, or that, that rough day in the field, or the rough week or rough weekend, whatever it may be, because those will happen in this business. Who do you call? Do you call people who are struggling like you are, which is typically what we want as humans? We want to make sure that we recall someone who's struggling like we are, so we feel better. Or do you call individuals who are doing really well? That would be a positive influence that maybe will give you some tough love and challenge you and continue to push you. So I really, really make sure that our guys have that inner circle in regards to who are you calling when those moments come up. Secondly, when it comes to dialing, I'm very honest with them. I give them our scripts that work. I say, listen, make it yours. Change the verbiage, change the lingo a bit. Do what you want with it, because once you're comfortable with what you're saying, then you'll become confident on the phone. And then we try to obviously have them record their dials or come into the office. We can observe, or they can hear us live dial, whatever it may be. We always try to get them comfortable on the phone and really focus on speed and tonality, matching the speed and tonality of the client when the client picks up, and understanding, to take control of the conversation. And then from there, for me to be able to really pivot and just, have that mindset they've reached out for help, and we're just calling them to verify their information, explain what the process is, and go out and help them. So mindset is a big, big, big part of what we do.
Right.
And then from in-home, I'd say it's just structure, man. If I would have learned that faster, I would have done so much better when I started. Just having a real clear structure in the home that really is a plug and play for any kind of interaction you're going to have, whether it's a straight life insurance, internet life lead, or a mortgage protection, or final expense, or retirement planning or preservation, whatever that may be. So for me, it's, who I am, what I specialize in, why we're here today, what led us to meet today, and what we're going to do today. And setting real clear expectations, setting structure. And then from there, almost getting that trial close that Eric Schmidt's so well known for, right? Shall we proceed? That kind of stuff. Having kind of a trial close and ensuring that the client knows that you're fully in control. You're there for a reason. You specialize on something that they need. And for there, we're going to shop the marketplace together. In about 15 to 20 minutes, we're going to find what that best match and best option will be for them. And then we're going to submit a full health application. But I mean, that structure for me is key. If you don't have that structure, you lose it. And then what new brokers start off struggling with too is when the client throws you jabs or those little darts. And I struggled with that right at the gate, right? Hey, I want to let you know today, we're not going to be doing anything today. Hey, I got to talk to the mailman and the milkman before we do anything. I need to, whatever, just the jab.
Right.
The minute I got to understand that wasn't them personally attacking me, because at first you take it personal, right? The minute I got to understand that was just their almost like safety mechanism, because number one, you're a total stranger in their house in the middle of a pandemic. So you got to respect that, and you got to respect that they're trusting you. And then from there, simply just get to a point where you politely ignore it and move on. And the minute I got to understand that, like, it was game over. At first, it would throw me off. Like, oh no, we're not doing anything today. I got to talk to the man. I'm looking for prices and quotes. And I just politely smile, ignore, and get back to my structure. And if new brokers can learn that fast enough, it's huge, because I can't tell you how many people calling from in the home or calling from in the car. Yeah, it didn't go well. What happened? Yeah, he said this at the beginning and it threw me off. And I went here and talked about pricing and carrier and products even before I got a health pre-qualification. And then my whole structure went down the tube. So for me, those are the keys that I try to teach and mentor so that people can grab a hold of it earlier and not make the same mistakes I've done and I've had.
Sure. Well, there's a lot of strength there. So it sounds like what has made your team building so strong is right off the bat, there's a tremendous amount of transparency, because you're teaching them how to do something that you are already successful at. So you got a lot of work already cut out for you, because you're just, hey, do what I do. It's worked for other people. I copied it. It's working for me. This is how it looks on the phone. This is how it looks in the house. A lot of transparency. You're protecting, you said it twice there, really in two different ways. You're protecting their attitude and their mindset, because obviously we know in sales in general, and especially in this, your mindset is so important. The way you're thinking about it. I mean, for me, last week, I wrote 10K. 2 of those days, I didn't write anything. And that's just the way it is. Friday of last week, I had my biggest day in the field ever. I had 14K in a day.
Yeah, congrats.
Thank you. The day after, I wrote nothing. So it's, you got to understand the ups and downs. And if your mind isn't in the right place, and I was training a guy on that big day, and on that big day, a lady was really rude, slammed the door in my face. And I just walked back to my car, and he's like, that really doesn't bother you, does it? I was like, no. Like it really, and I don't think I started out that way, but it's something you build over time. And what you're doing for your team is you're giving them the best chance at developing that by making sure when they have those rough days that they are plugging in to not people who are whining and who are, and I'm trying to be like a grade school here, but losers a little bit, and but people who are winners and who are overcoming. And I mean, it's simple. It's simple what you're doing. And I think it's easy to copy.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. And I don't sugarcoat. Because what happens is new brokers will start, they'll get into our chats, and they'll see all these big numbers. And what I try to explain to them is you have to fall in love with the process, not the result. Because the result will come when you fall in love with the process. People come in and, 20 grand in a week, 30 grand, 15 grand. There's so many people having success, so they fall in love with that. It's not the way it works. You have to fall in love with the process. You will have bad days. I don't sugarcoat anything. You're going to get told no a bunch of times, but I try to simplify it for them. So listen, all you got to do is find 5 yeses a week. You find 5 yeses a week on average, you'll write 20 grand a month, just 5 yeses. You're going to go through a lot of no's. You got to go through all the no's. You're going to go through the no's on the phone, no's in the home, no shows, cancellations, reschedules. But if you get 5 yeses a week on average, and they're $1,000 of annual premium, which is about average, that's 5 grand a week. That's 20 grand a month. Just find the 5 yeses. Simple as that.
Yeah. And the ROI on leads and stuff is phenomenal. You really can't go wrong just throwing more money into leads, and people who own businesses and come into this just see it and are blown away, by what you invest and what you get. But I want to be respectful of your time. We're coming to the end here. I always like to open it up for a question or two and then give you a parting shout. I know we have several people with questions here. I saw Leah S with her hand emoji up first. So let's have Leah go first.
Thanks a lot for this meeting. It's really informative. My question is, when you're bringing on mothers with young children specifically, what do you tell them about balancing the kids' needs with the work life and the demands of the schedule?
Yeah, Leah, I love that. It's a great question. So we do have a lot of single moms with kids, and we have a lot of moms with, a husband with kids. And the first thing I always do when I speak to a new broker is we have to define what their schedule is going to look like. So whenever somebody finishes our new broker checklist and gets contracted, gets the producer numbers, at that point, what they'll do is they'll have a lead strategy session with me. It'll be Zoom if they're not local. If it's not, they're local, they're going to come into the office. So in that 30 minutes to an hour on how we're going to strategize and plan and how I'm going to make sure that they actually did finish the checklist and they're ready to go out there and help families, the first item we talk about is schedule. Because if we don't have a good our hands wrapped around that, the wheels are going to fall off. So what I tell them is, listen, if you're part-time, that's okay. People, you do great things at part-time here. But we have to dedicate full days of running. So what in my experience, what I have seen not work is obviously, a couple hours here, a couple hours there, it doesn't work. Now you can dial early morning, lunch break, after work, a couple back-to-back days and set up your weekend and have full run days. But having full run days for me is really, really important, and has worked really well for part-timers having success. Now, managing work life, we are in no better position to do that now. We're in the best position possible. Like, so what I tell them is I tell them to download the Time Tree app. It's a free application, and it's Time Trees, all one word. And what I do is, for example, with my work-life balance, and that's what I tell them, I say I give my wife access to that calendar. I give my office manager access, who's pretty much kind of my work wife. So I give my work wife and my real wife access to that calendar. And then whenever they have non-negotiables, they will put it in the calendar. So if I have my son's football playoff game that I'm coaching that I probably forget because I'm just busy, they will put it in the calendar. If I have an interview with an agency owner who's flying down from Atlanta, they will put it in the calendar. So I know, I always look at that calendar and I know, all right, I have Juliet, whatever she's prioritizing, whatever Tiffany's prioritizing. Every other time that's not held up, I know I'm going to work. And so organizing yourself, using applications like that, and really understanding that scheduling is so important, and it's the first step of having success in this business. That's the way I think you would help someone find balance, especially a single mom or a mom with kids.
Awesome. Awesome. And then I think I saw Craig there with a question.
Yeah. Hi, Marco. Thanks for coming in today. So my question, I've got a couple brand new agents in here, and for me also. I heard you mention earlier that when you first started, you done some things out of fear where you veered off of the process. Can you talk a little bit about the difference between doing the right thing out of fear and the wrong thing out of fear, and what the results can be on either side?
Gotcha. Yeah. And when you say fear, are we talking about in-home lead purchasing? Give me a little more context.
No, I'm actually talking about, I mean, for example, my personal situation when I first started, when I say dead broke, I mean, I had less money than money. I had nothing. So terrified whenever I got that first bit of money in my hands to invest those in leads, because obviously there's other things I needed to do with that, but I took the plunge. So I guess what I'm looking for is the difference between trusting the process and using the fear as a motivation, and not trusting the process and using that fear that's going to eventually lead you to failing.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, man. And I think fear is a good thing in a lot of ways. I think people find new levels of growth when they're uncomfortable. And my success story, and a lot of guys that are on my team, like Tyler Adams and Joseph Gonzalez, and all these guys that are building and writing at a high level, a lot of their success came from having their back against the wall. Because when someone's back is against the wall and you have no plan B, and you burn all your boats, and you have to go and make this happen, that is when you find new levels of success. You find things that you would never imagine that you can do. You can reach those levels. So for me, using fear as a way to kind of heavily lean on your faith, to me, that was it, man. And faith in regards to obviously my religious beliefs, but also faith in the process. Because I kept thinking, like, if that guy can do it, why can't I? Like, why? Like, and this is not me not being whatever, but everyone thinks that. Everyone goes to annual conferences like, that guy wrote almost 600 grand. Like, are you serious? Like, why him? Why not me? So for me, it was really important to understand that I had to translate that fear into faith, and the faith in the process, faith in, and obviously God putting me here for a reason, and I'm trusting him, and he knows better than I do, and Amen. Just going to work. But that's what worked for me, man.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries.
All right, and one more. I want to say I saw a comment or something somewhere. Did we have one more question in the group?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, Charles, go ahead.
I just want to thank him for that comment, because that's a process I'm still trying to get over, because I had a whole lot of things going on personally. But the fear of the other falling and not making the risk assessment work is really what's driving me now. So I want to thank you for that. And he made some comments that really hit where I'm at. So I'm going forward for you. Thank you. Did you?
That's awesome.
I heard you, brother, and I got to tell you, and that's the cool part of this business, is that we get to really be able to change a lot of people's lives, and people have inspired and motivated me in so many ways. Like, and now it's just me returning the favor, and so that's the cool part. We're changing lives every single day between the families that we're helping in home and the opportunity that we're sharing with loved ones and friends, family, and cold market. So and you know, guys like Ivan and all these guys that have led the way and kind of put that path together for us. It's just a great feeling to be able to give back. And so I'm super excited to help. And you guys are all welcome to reach out if you guys ever need anything.
Man, Marco, I was thinking we were building a camaraderie and a friendship even. I was starting to like you, and then I see that you have palm trees behind you, and I'm looking at these giant mounds of snow in New Jersey.
So that's the palm trees there, a little palm, not too bad, but yeah. So the kids just got home. I got a couple late afternoon appointments, so I had to pivot to go outside.
Well, hey man, we really appreciate your time. We won't take any more. We always ask if you had one parting shout. You know, we got everything on here from people who are just getting started, trying to make it, you know, their own. We got people who are starting to build teams. If you had a parting shout that you kind of apply to everybody real quick, what would that be?
Yeah, I would say, number one, find your breakthrough. Don't stop until you find it. It will come. No one knows when and where, but it will come if you trust the process and go all in. And nothing comes from being comfortable. Get uncomfortable. The faster you get uncomfortable and embrace that, the faster you'll find success and find your breakthrough point. Secondly, when you find that breakthrough point, and even beforehand, share the opportunity. There's so many people out there that have been decimated with this pandemic, from different industries to people without work. People are hungry out there, and we are the biggest and fastest growing IMO in the country for a reason. And people could truly change their lives just by you sharing the opportunity via text, phone call, or a social media post. And believe me, people are watching. They might not like your comments, they might not like your post, but they'll come out of the woodwork 6 months later, a year later, and say, hey, I've been watching you, and I want to talk to you about what you're doing. So share the opportunity, be transparent, and obviously continue to just find that breakthrough and don't stop.
Well, Marco, that was phenomenal. Hey, man, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it. An honor to get to speak with you. And I know it was good for me, and I'm sure it was good for everyone else. Thanks so much, man.